Thanks for doing this, Glenn. Hey, I've been just looking over some information coming from Dr. Alan Sills, and now it seems like Anthony Fauci is starting to say some things about how football would have to proceed. How are you guys handling all this sort of new information that's coming down and trying to move forward with the uncertainty of COVID and this whole entire situation?
I think you hit on the head, Mary Kay. There's just so much uncertainty around. I mean, really, what the next week, the next 2 weeks is like. For us, it's just about being adaptable and staying ready to adjust to whatever policies come down. So as they come in, Andrew and the group will converse on it, and we just have to find the best way to work within those constraints. But really, it's just about being adaptable, and we'll continue to do that.
Thank you.
All right, our next question, if we get a hand up, if anybody's ready, or Mary Kay, if you have a follow-up. All right, we'll go to Scott Petrick. Scott Petrick, your line is open. If you can unmute on your side. Thank you.
Yep. Hey, Glenn, just kind of piggybacking on what Mary Kay asked, there's been some rumblings about fewer preseason games. How much time have you guys spent talking about that? What kind of an impact do you think that might have? Especially, trying to decide who the final 55 guys would be.
You were breaking up just a little bit. What was the last part?
Oh, how much, if there were only 2 preseason games, how that would affect setting the roster?
Yeah, for us, we're in an information business, so it somewhat cuts down our exposure to, each player in a game setting. But, hopefully, taking into account all the exposure we get in terms of practice and being around them, we should have enough information. Again, it's just something we have to adapt to, really out of our control. But, I think we'll be fine in terms of cutting the roster down.
And do you think that's a possibility, the 2 games?
I think all things are on the table right now. I wish I had a globe to tell you the future, but I really don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd say that.
Right. Thanks.
All right, our next question is going to go to Daryl Ryder. Daryl?
Hey, Glenn, I'm just kind of curious with this unusual offseason. Free agency seems to run pretty smooth for you guys, but obviously everything's kind of slowed down. I'm curious what's left for you guys from a personnel standpoint before you head into training camp. Is there anything you guys have in the works or that you feel you still need to accomplish?
We have weekly conversations. I mean, the roster, our team, all teams are organisms, so they're constantly changing. You're constantly looking for whatever tweak can give you that 2%, 3%, 10% improvement, wherever you can find. So, we're definitely, keeping our ear to the ground and staying abreast of what's happening around the league. At this current moment, there's just not much happening. I think with some of the limitations around bringing players in, tryouts, workouts, physically being able to see people and get physicals, that probably cuts back on some of the moves we can make. But like I said, it's an organism that we're always trying to improve.
And if I can follow up on that, I'm just kind of curious too. When do you think that window to be able to bring players in that you can't bring in right now because of the protocols? When do you think that window might open up? Because I would imagine something has to open up here before you get to camp. If you got, a player or two, not just for you guys, but league wide, for some of these free agents that are left out there to be able to find teams.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll definitely be ready though. We have a pretty nice list built right now of guys we'd like to get another look on. So, the sooner the better for us. It may cut into vacation a little bit, but the sooner we get an opportunity to maybe, have some travel restrictions lifted, I should say, the better. But we just have to be ready for whenever that happens, whether that's a week into camp or a week before camp. We just have to be ready to go.
All right, thank you, Daryl. We're waiting for our next question to come in. It'll be from Scott Petrick. Scott, your line should be unmuted if you could on your side. Thank you.
Hey, Glenn. I know a lot of these are hypothetical, but that's kind of the world we're living in. You read about there's a chance the salary cap will go down next year or even plateau given the potential dip in revenue. Does that affect you guys when you discuss whether or not you're going to extend Myles Garrett?
No, that's a good question. I think all that goes into play when we're talking about any of these moves we're looking to make. So whether it's extensions, signing free agents, possible trades, even going into years in the future, 2021 and 2022. So it does somewhat change what our overall plan is. And we actually initially did have some conversations around that, just in terms of team planning, not specific to Myles, but just what that looks like given what COVID was, say, in February and March, going into the next year. So I think, yes, you do think about that with all the moves you make and all the decisions that may come into play now and into the season.
And there was a report last week about you guys having opening discussions with Myles. Is there an update there? Are you guys close? Is that something you'd like to get done before the season?
Myles is a really good player, so personally, I'd love to have him for as long as we can. Those are decisions that Andrew and Kwesi and ownership have to make. So I can't give you an update. I think Andrew would be the better person to speak on that. But I can tell you, as you probably know, we're really excited to have him on our team and hope to have him for a long time.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Scott. We're going to go to Nate Ulrich. Nate Ulrich, if you could unmute, thank you.
Hey, Glenn. I was just wondering kind of about this new opportunity for you with this new role. What does it look like for you? And what are the differences for you? And what do you think makes, you and Andrew Berry, a good, obviously there's a lot more people, but what do you think makes you and Andrew Berry, compatible and a good match?
So to the first part of your question, really the difference is, and I've tried to come up with good analogies, but I'm really just like a co-captain of a ship, and so like my job is to help our scouts do their job as seamless and easy as possible. So really just managing all those minute and sometimes bigger things in the day-to-day from the personnel department perspective is what I'll handle. And like I said, I'm trying to put our guys in the best position as possible so they can just evaluate and help us set the board and find free agents as optimally as we can. And so, like I said, it may be cheesy, but I'm really just trying to co-captain and steward the group in that manner. To the second piece, it's really a reacclimation. It's been a cool reacclimation period for Andrew just coming back. And he had a really strong foundation when he left, and I think he got even stronger from when I first got here till today. And so to just marry some of our philosophies, which somewhat mirror each other naturally, and try to build the best possible team we can and organization for the Browns is really what we're trying to do simply.
All right, thank you. We're going to go to Tom Withers next. Tom, you're up.
Hey, Glenn, thanks for the time, man. As Scott mentioned before, everything is just so hypothetical at this point. We're all dealing with some level of frustration and not being able to do our jobs the way that we would like to do them. What's been the toughest thing for you during this time and not being able to kind of get the Browns where you want to get the Browns?
Well, I'll say I will disagree. I think we have actually been able to do our jobs as well as we can. One thing we talk about is we're all working under the same conditions. So all 32 teams, Coach Stefanski has stated the same thing. They're all doing the same thing. And so we have to find, those advantages within the constraints that we can to do it better. And so that's what we've been doing as a department as well. I think it wouldn't be a negative. It's such an intimate job. And there's so much interaction interpersonally on a day-to-day. It's really, I just miss that, right? It's hard constantly being on Zoom or Teams calls and not being able to sit across or sit around a table with each other and discuss many of these, opportunities and decisions that come up. That's really been, I'd say from a personal standpoint, the most challenging piece. But otherwise, we've been able to effectively do our jobs otherwise.
And just generally, what have your impressions been of Coach Stefanski? We were talking to Coach O'Shea yesterday, who was talking about just the team concept and just the chemistry that Kevin is trying to create there. So what are your general impressions of him early on?
Yeah, no, I'd probably repeat some of the same things and not to be repetitive. One of the things that stuck out to me is just he's been very, I may have said this before, but very strategic and specific about how he's addressed every situation. So whether it be, situational football or some of the things that are going on in our nation, he's been very direct, very to the point, and also extremely organized around how we have those conversations. And so it's really about teaching in that moment and teaching within that one area. And I've been really impressed with that. So that'd be my primary thing I say differently.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, Tom. We're going to go back to Scott Petrick. Scott?
Yeah, Glenn, you've been through a few different regimes during your time with the Browns. And I know it's been a different offseason, but how is this front office feel different to you?
I'd say like what we're focused on is truly collaborating, communicating, and all working towards the same thing, and that's really winning football. So I'm not really into comparing. I've been, if you want to say, a part of 5 or 6 different ones in terms of GMs or leadership structures. But what we're going to focus on is what can we do to win football games, and what can we eliminate that will cause us to lose football games, and that's across all departments. So within our group and personnel, coaching, high performance, we're all working towards winning football games because that's what we're here to do.
And in a business where there's a bunch of turnover, right? Were there uneasy times for you when it shifted from, let's say, Sashi to John, and then I knew you knew AB, but from John to AB, and then how did you kind of survive all the changes?
I think with life, we all know that adversity comes, and so the way I handle it is just to do my job, to be myself, and to contribute in the best way I can. And that's really all I can control. It's all about controlling what you can control. And so what I could control in those moments was, how well I evaluated, how did I contribute to the conversations, and then kind of leave it in the hands of other people to take care of the rest.